All right, there you go. Joel Kamadi quickly taking us around the world and giving us what really is happening in terms of an update on most of the European leagues. I'm sure most of you guys are looking out for European football to return very soon. Well, there you go for the Arsenal fans. Arsenal is the first club to actually return to training, though there's still lots of space and isolation on the training ground itself. But it seems we are gearing up for a very, very close return to English football and probably most of the European leagues as well. Now, on the show last week, we took a trip around most of our superstars, asking them how they were dealing with the coronavirus, how they were keeping fit, and how they were making sure they were staying mentally in shape. Now, on the show tonight, I'm very, very excited to have this gentleman, Mr. Mutebi, the head coach at KCCA Football Club, a man who knows Ugandan football inside out. So very shortly, I'll be asking him the hard questions, but I'll start off with another Mike who is down in, you cannot say Chicago, can you? You have to say Chicago. The pronunciation is Chicago. Wow, Chicago Fire. Mike Azira joins us as well, telling us how he's dealing with isolation. Here he is.
Hi everyone, this is Michael Azira based here in Chicago. I mostly spend my time with my family. I stay home, try to take care of my kids. But when it comes to training, we as a team, they give us a schedule for every week, and everyone has a training schedule from Monday till Saturday. And we do video workouts, like we all sign in and we're able to see the trainer, and then we train as a group. But also, like I said, everyone gets a schedule, and we mostly go out to train and we go run, but not in a group as individuals. So we get to train and try to stay fit as much as we can, and also like this quarantine, to me sometimes I see like a blessing in it. It's a blessing in disguise as well, because it's a good time to sit down and reflect and reevaluate your goals and how you want to live your life. Because as soccer players, I think this should be a lesson for all of us. Soccer is what we do, it's not who we are. We need to prepare our lives and invest in things which are going to be rewarding, like staying with our families, investing in ourselves, learning something new, learning new skill. And that's how I spend my quarantine. So thank you, and wish you all the best, and please stay safe.
The COVID pandemic has hit rugby in Uganda, although its effect on women's rugby has been a bit different from men's rugby, both on and off the pitch. When it comes to on the pitch, the Women's 15s League had already ended, and so URU isn't under the same pressure to complete a league. The women were basically starting preparations for the 15s international games, which were supposed to begin at the end of May and run through until the beginning of August. And thereafter, the local Sevens League was supposed to take off in August. And then the Rugby Africa Sevens tentatively slated for October. However, all these competitions have been postponed indefinitely, and so basically the women are hanging in limbo and are trying to keep as fit best as they can by doing personal workouts at home, which isn't ideal, but that's the situation at the moment. There are very few, if any, female rugby players who earn a living from playing rugby in Uganda, though there are some who have jobs that are linked to rugby activities or rugby clubs, and those are mostly based at Chadundo Rugby Club, and Chadundo Rugby Club has pledged to cater for their salaries for March and April.
Hello, how are you all doing? Hope you're all keeping well and managing the situation, which is unfortunate now in the country with the COVID-19 pandemic. Naturally, this has affected all of us. In the rugby sport, as an example, we've had a proper full shutdown of all activities, and I know it's going to affect us. Largely due to the international season that was supposed to be starting about now. Our men's 15s team, our women's 15s team were scheduled to play in the Africa Cup. That might not happen now this year. We shall await competition from Rugby Africa, but definitely it will be a huge loss for us to lose an entire season of international rugby. The men's sevens team as well, to play in the Olympic qualifiers, is now is not a doubt for this year, and we wait to know how they'll then qualify for the Olympics. I mean, that will come from World Rugby. For now, we're trying to see if we can support our local players. Some players are in dire need of a supply, so we shall try and see as a union how we can extend some support to the players locally. Otherwise, we ask all our players to stay safe, and we shall come back stronger. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Ramsey Olinga, one of those talking to us on the press box tonight. The one was, of course, Helen Butemi, and we had the man from Chicago Fire, Mike Azira, giving us his side of the story as well. You should give us your side of the story as well and tell us what you're doing throughout this isolation. How are you managing? So many folks have gone in for fitness. Others have gone in for reading books. Guys are watching documentaries. I don't know what you're doing, but what I know is that the man who is on set tonight is busy preparing for a return of the Uganda Premier League, if any. Mr. Mike Mutebi, first of all, Mike, good evening and welcome to the show, and thank you very much for making time for us.
Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be once again here. I think this is the third time. Yeah.
The microphone. I think you're going to hold the microphone a little closer. I was having a discussion with some sports folks the other day, and people say football is a religion. It's a matter of death and life. With what has just happened, do you feel we have taken a step back and realized just how important life is, even with our professions, even with how busy our lives are? We have to take a moment and think about our lives and health now.
Yeah, it's a religion, you can see. I think for me, I can define this situation as a third world war because it has affected everything. However, you can see that associations are trying their level best to see that this game starts again. But we must look at the safety first, the security of players, first of all, and the coaches. But the good thing in this, in my opinion, especially for our Ugandan players, has been the positivity of knowing that you can do things on your own.
Yes.
Because most of our players have not been used to this. They only go train on the field, but this personal arrangement have not been used to it. But this has brought in that you can see, I'll talk for KCC, what we have been doing with our players. Our fitness coach has always given them a training program that they have to do what? They have to follow.
Yes.
Of course, all this isolation really, for sportsmen, it works only on fitness and mentality, because doing things in isolation can affect you sometimes. So, in my opinion, that is the positivity we've got in this.
Yes.
And I hope we can resume.
Yeah, I mean, I like when you said things might never be the same, because now we are learning to do things differently. Most of the European clubs we are following have this technology, players are training from home. Was KCCA ready?
Yes, yes. Like I've told you, even before this, our fitness coach, Badru Mukasa, used to give players program, and then he would supervise them through YouTube. They follow, because those are the things we have always clamored for to improve in Ugandan football. Yes. But like I said, this situation has even made it better for people to realize that you can do these things. You see, in Europe, players have been doing individual training. Yes. You see, individual training besides this club training. Here, it has not been the same. Yeah. Now, people have to realize that you can do it individually, and now it goes to the mentality of players. Because if you're not used to it, sometimes it might affect you mentally. You may be depressed, because when you are doing things alone and you're not used to team, you can see even the resumption of these other clubs, what they are doing, say 5 players, So, in my opinion, I believe The positivity we've got from this is the way we professional athletes must carry ourselves well and look at ourselves individually.
But I mean, you talk to some coaches, you listen to some coaches talk about their players and they say, you know, that one is talented but needs an extra push. That one is talented, needs an extra push. This must be holding you back on some players because you're not facing them directly, training every single day. You might have some reservations on how most of them will come back.
Yeah, reservations, like I said, if they are in shape. Now, we are talking about tactics because when you come as a group, we will always work on tactics, how team play, what have you. But again, it goes back to the mentality, the personality of the player, responsibility. You see? Now, like, for instance, for us at KCCA one time, we suspended players for 2 months. They were all over the place saying, we can't stay for 2 months without training in isolation. Now, after this has happened, they have seen the importance of it. So we, like I will still insist, we have learned to work on our own and also the science. Because there's video links, you know, you are not touching each other, but you can video link with the players, what they are doing. And of course, not all of them are going to follow it. So it goes back, like I said, to the mentality, the personality of the player. And, you know, because, like you said, football is a team game. When you are alone, really, it makes you suffer. So, but I hope things are going to change and go back to normal. But we have to look at the safety and the health of the players first.
I was speaking earlier on today with the CEO of the Uganda Premier League, Mr. Bernard Bainamani, and I'll tell you more from our discussion. But one of the things he talks about is if after 5th May, the isolation is not extended that long, the federation really wants to finish the league. They want to make sure the final 5 games are played. That's going to be a very short time. We're going to have congestion of fixtures. It is a worry as well.
I don't think so, in my opinion, because what we have been doing at KCC, the methodologies of training, we've been used to players playing 2 games in 5 days. So for me, I don't think it will affect. It will affect other clubs, but in my opinion, it will not affect KCC.
You also have the squad depth to deal with situations like this.
Everybody has the whatever, the club depth, but it depends on how you prepare your players. Because, like I said, if you want to be professional, we must do what those people in Europe are doing. If you're a club that is going to play in the league, play FA or Uganda Cup, go on the continent, the way you condition players is not the way you condition players who are going to play only 30 matches.
Yes.
You see? So that is the difference.
We had a very big discussion on the show last week, Mike, and part of it was Ugandan football already has had problems of financing in the past. Now, the coronavirus comes and shakes up the industry. You can't sell that many shirts now. You don't have games, so you're not collecting much money. Of course, KCCA has a very big coffer. There's a lot of money coming in from the city council to the club. But do you understand where Ugandan football will forever not be the same after this? So many clubs might struggle and might not make it out of this hole. Do you think about the financial implications of this on the league?
Of course, it's a big one. It's a big one. But, you know, all these learning, like I said, the positivity in this. FUFA has always insisted on clubs doing the right thing.
Yes.
This pro agenda, they have been selling this to clubs, look for sponsors, do a BCD, and some clubs did not take it seriously. Now that this has come, it is actually exposed the weaknesses of some of our clubs. You see, so the financial implication really, and even at KCC, you are not going to say we are going to get a lot of money from KCC. KCCA as a football club has been making money through other avenues, getting sponsors. You know, there's the right things you're supposed to do, you see. So, but of course, we shall come out of that.
Yeah.
All the clubs will come out of that and take more responsibility to know, to find the way of looking for money to sustain the growth and continuity of their clubs.
Shortly, I'll show you the FUFA president, Engineer Moses Magogo. From the federation's perspective, they were handing out relief to different players. At a personal level, though, and personally, I mean KCC, what are you guys doing for the players? Have you given them some extra, you know, to make sure they can go through this time right?
We don't have to amplify what we do.
Yeah.
You know, we've been doing these things quietly. You don't have to go.
It's a special case, though, Mike.
No special case. Special case what? They are paying players. KCC is continuing paying players. And of course, FUFA's gesture was fantastic.
Yes.
But the club has been doing this, you know. And but because we don't want to amplify, because those are the things clubs are supposed to do. They're supposed to look after players. Now, in such a situation, of course, FUFA comes out, helps the clubs, but also the clubs must do something.
Yes.
And KCC has done that. And I think also other clubs have been doing that.
Mike, from a playing perspective, you find yourself in a very uncomfortable situation. If we look at the standings of the Uganda Premier League now, you're second on that log.
Yes.
Yes, you have 5 games to go. Mathematically, you have a chance of winning the league. But let me tell you something. Part of my discussion with Mr. Bernard Bainaman earlier on was him reading to me out the rules and regulations of the Uganda Premier League. If the league has been played by more than 75% and is forced to close, the top team is the champion. The 3 teams are relegated. We so far have played 83%. Are you worried? Are you worried this thing might carry on and Vipers be crowned champions, which in many people's eyes might be very unsporting?
If the law says that, we shall take that. Even if it were us in that situation, and if the rules say 75% played, then Viper is champion. I have no problem with that. However, it would be sweet, sporting-wise,
yes,
to finish the league. Because I believe even in the situation we are in, we are still very competitive.
Yes.
We can, like I've always stated, the championship can go all the way, you know. But because of the rules, if the rules say 75%, whoever is leading, then champions, Vipers, no problem.
I mean, I like the answer, but I'm sure you're not a very happy man. If it goes on like that, you want to play the season until the end, which we really understand. But one of the things I really wanted to ask you, Mike, is from a management perspective, how this now changes your thinking. Some are saying transfer talk has officially started. Some players will have to leave. Some clubs that don't have that much money are saying the high earners are going to be put on a transfer list. We shall sign cheaper players. Is your transfer talk now getting even more because of the coronavirus? Now, are you already thinking about players you must bring into the side? Some must leave.
Oh, yes, yes. Even before this, we had this in plan. We've always been looking around to strengthen the team, to usher in young players from our development side. And yes, we are doing it clandestine, trying to talk to some few players to strengthen the team. Because I don't think this is going to go on forever. Immediately this stops, we must be able to start right away and compete.
We shall be taking some phone calls tonight. You can send us your side of the story in case you have a question for Mr. Mike Mutebi. Let me just read for you the number. It will be put on the screen as well. 0778 722 784. I will do that one more time. 0778 722 784. Joel Kamadi, please come in. I think you have a few questions for Mike as well, and we want to know what is happening online, so we can thread in as many as we can.
Most definitely. Coach Mike, we've seen, like in Europe, how they're doing the of course, advising players to train from home, and they've given them a program to train with, and they can monitor that using, computer technology. How is it, I want you to use KCC as an example, how is it for you as a club? How are you manning and making sure these players are actually adhering to the program, if at all you've sent them a training program, that they're actually following it, and that by the time this whole thing is done, when they come back to train and to join the club, how sure are you they're following it?
Yeah, like I started by saying that we have our fitness coach trainer, Mr. Badru Mukasa.
Yep.
He has already furnished this program to most of the players. And all of them are supposed to be monitored. They're supposed to be sending videos of what they have been doing to the coach and the supervisors them. But you cannot police people. It goes back to the personality themselves. Are they willing to do it? Because I don't think even in Europe, they are going to monitor all those players. No, it depends on the personality themselves to take responsibility and do it. But for us, we are doing it. And I think by and large, our coach has been supervising these players.
But before we go to those comments online, Mike, what is going to change? What is this pandemic going to change in Ugandan football? Something you look at and say, we might never do this the same way we've been doing it. Because the training is going to go back to normal. You still want these players to be back out there. But what is going to change? Is it going to change anything, or is it just going to get away and we shall come back to normal fully?
No, like I said first, it's going to change the mentality of how we handle the game itself, the professionalism of players, the responsibilities of players individually to work hard on their own, you know, and also to put contingency plan for such things to happen, because now it is shown it may happen again. Now maybe clubs and FIFA and these different federations, like now you've seen what FIFA is doing. After experiencing this, now there's a lesson to learn. So we believe there are lessons to learn, especially to have a contingency plan for such occurrences. And of course, the training will remain. Training, the scientific training, there's no question about that. The seriousness of how we train players, how we improve players will improve. And in the end, I believe, like we said, those are the positives that this epidemic has brought to us.
Well, I tell you, one of the positives, again, I insist, just for the viewers out there and those who have been closely following the Uganda Premier League, the federation insists their intention is to actually play the league and finish it. So if you support KCCA, if you support Vipers, don't worry. We are hoping we can get that time and the game's going to be played. We have some reactions online, though.
Most definitely. And do send in your questions for Coach Mike if you have them. I'll start with some from Facebook, and we have security expert Dixon Okello, James Bond, as is commonly known, who says, this is the biggest disaster to hit the sports world. Football, just imagine this. The players, coaches, and fans were all seeing the finish line. And this pandemic is stopping everything. Now, the business model of all Premier League clubs is under threat. While each one has different characteristics, most of their money is made in three ways: broadcasting deals, sponsorship contracts, and match day income from tickets. These revenue streams are drying up. Is it too early to calculate the damage to football businesses? But honestly, I believe there will be a lasting disruption. The willingness of spectators to rush back to crowded stadiums will be tested. Hope Wisdom, also on Facebook, says, I think they will, because there will be a fresh revival and support from well-wishers and also from the club efforts. I am watching from Moroto in Karamoja. Fahad Mganga on Twitter says, KCCA FC will definitely survive because it has massive support from different sponsors. I opine, my question to our gaffer is, what's his take on the informed Gift Ali missing out on the chance squad, yet he's been one of KCCA FC's best players this season, if not the best. Maybe one more before we get back with Mike. M. Bob Moses says, first, let me applaud Coach Mike Mutebi for the good job done in upbringing the young talent. Back to the topic of discussion, my worry is the individual club's survival, but institutional clubs, KCFC being one of them, their survival after the lockdown is 100% assured. That's what he says.
Here's the thing, Mike. I mean, I understand your reaction, and we shall talk about Gift Ali later, don't worry. But here's my understanding. Are we being realistic with the aftermath of this pandemic. And the reason I say that is we had Mr. Agri Ashaba on the show last week, and he was talking about how most of these clubs have one investor. One rich man who does business comes and invests in the club. Now, business in the country has been disrupted, and probably will be disrupted for the longer time to come. We're not going to pay these players. We've already struggled paying these players. We are not going to facilitate these clubs. Why am I being a prophet of doom when I say some teams might not honor those fixtures after the return? In your experience with Ugandan football?
It's a difficult one to answer. That's what I said. We have to be responsible. We have to be responsible. If you don't respect what FUFA has put in place to complete the league, then you must be chastised. You must be punished. See, this is what we are saying. You do come into something, and you must face all the challenges that come with with the requirements they're supposed to incur. So, I believe clubs will honor fixtures. However, like you said, it is not going to be the same again. But I still insist, there are lessons to learn from such.
Yes, yes.
How to organize clubs, how to look for sponsors. Yes, television now has been a problem. But at least that was done by FUFA, which is a plus. Now, also other clubs, whatever institutional or private owned, these are the things they're supposed to do if we are going to elevate the game to the next level.
Do we have more comments?
Yeah, we have a few more which are coming in. I'll probably do three. Nathan Nasa says, Ugandan clubs which are not for organizations, apart from Vipers, will suffer a lot because most of them have been struggling in life before COVID, whereby players demanded wages for 2 months. Joseph Gideon says, manager, you are the right source of any fitness concerning KCCA FC players, and some fall short. But why? Your secret follower, who is not so secret anymore, he's called Joseph Gideon. One day we'll incline on and chat on a round table. Thanks for the great inspiration. Maybe one more. Bailey Chris says, I think it will be an uphill journey for most of the clubs because the fan base alone has been hit hard financially, and so they need some time to revive. Therefore, expect low support for a while. Thanks for the show. I'm watching from Mutebi, which brought me to my question as well regarding that last comment. What do you think about fans coming to the stadium after this whole thing is done? Will you see? You think we'll see a return of numbers were not the highest.
Games are not very expensive.
They're not very expensive, but with the fear of this pandemic.
But before this, I think the number of fans had increased. And I think even now they are suffering because like the league, the way it is, the way we are moving head to head with Vipers, and even the relegation battle, and also fighting for places in the middle table, I believe fans will come back. Yeah. But, like I said, clubs have to put in a lot of work in as far as trying to manufacture, try to look for fans, and that can only be done by some good football being played on the field. And fans are going to come to watch. For instance, I think last season, fans came to watch an Alan Okello. Yeah. Everyone would love to see these good players. Yeah. That's why I will always insist, we have to look for these unknown players, the young ones they always talk about, usher them in the game. Then even the new generation of fans will adhere to those ones because they are 19. We need also to bring in those new fans, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, to beef up the ones who have been around, But they can only identify with players of their generation.
Yeah. Just before I go for that break, how close do you stay with these players? You've brought up Alan Okello, and something has come to mind. We had him on the show last week, and he was saying as a young boy, he's used to staying in hotels, he's used to isolation because of the travel. Do you keep in touch with these?
Yeah. But, when we are training these players, we don't train them for KCC. We train them for bigger things, for bigger clubs. All these things, when we are teaching them, we prepare them to face them. and they know, like I said, you, the personality, how do you consume what the coach is trying to give you? So Alan Okello, I believe he will go there and stay there because he has gone through the right channels of preparation.
Okay. Okay.
Andrew, before you take a break, someone on Twitter was actually asking something related to that. It's Mpata official who says, which criteria does Coach Mike and the entire KCCA FC use to recruit new players, especially the young stars, for instance, the under-17? What criteria do you use to pick them?
Oh, we are very thorough. We have adopted the Ajax way. First of all, we look at these players, technique first of all, and then personality. Because you may have all this technique, you are good, but if you lack that personality, the belief that I can do things, the belief that I can work hard and earn from this profession of mine, those are the two criteria we look at. And also the thinking. You don't just, nowadays, the game is so scientific. You're not going to just run around on the field of play like headless chicken. You must be intelligent. You must be learn how to conduct yourself on the field of play. Which moments do you run? When do you stop down the game? Those things, we steal them when they're still young. And that's why you're not surprised. When they come to the senior team, you will always say, this one is young. But they immediately fit in and perform for us.
I want us to go for a break now. When we come back from the break, we ask Mike about the current Uganda Premier League season. The truth of the matter is KCCA is behind Vipers at the moment, something I'm sure he doesn't like. So we shall have a discussion on what got us here, what he saw. Oh, so good. If we finish the league, he's going to fight and try and win the championship. Plus, after the break, we shall be catching up with Andrew Mwangusha and Max Sally as well and taking your phone call.
By Viva Energy and NTV Uganda.
Joining us every Monday at 10 p.m. We have the biggest panel that usually comes together, journalists discussing some of the biggest issues. It's quite different these days because of the coronavirus. What we are doing is we are using technology. I'm telling you. NTV has technology. So we are connecting with these guys just to know what their side of the story is and what exactly they are going through. Before we come back to Mike, let me actually join up with now Andrew Mwangusha and Max Sally. First of all, I must applaud Max Sally. He's picked a much better background this time around. Last time it was a little too dark. Mwangusha has maintained the same winning team. He has maintained the same white background, so which is fantastic for us. Guys, good evening and welcome to the show to both of you. I want to start with you, Andrew Mwangusha, because part of your update I'm expecting from you is some relief coming in at FUFA House from FIFA. Please tell us what has happened with FUFA. We do understand they have received some money, and how relevant is that to the Ugandan footballing community?
Good evening, Andrew, and good evening to Coach Mike. Happy to be back on PRESSBOX tonight. Well, the news from FUFA is quite interesting and uplifting the federation. While the rest of the world and the sporting world, people are being asked to have pay cuts, to defer salaries. The people at FUFA are quite, in high spirits because at least as of now, they're assured of meeting all their financial obligations until further notice because the mother body, that's the World Soccer Governing Body, FIFA, came out last Friday and announced a $150 million relief fund to all its 211 member associations globally. Now, this fund is not just money that is being, lifted from somewhere and just given it to these federations for free. This is money that is part of their final installments of the year that comes and the Be Forward, program that meets the operational costs of these federations and also takes care of salaries and all the other things that come play, women football, youth football. So the final release was supposed to be in July, and we are in April. So FIFA looked at this and they said, well, our member associations are going through financial distress because of COVID-19. How do we help? So the very first step is they decided to give them their full finances for operations for 2019-2020, and that's how FIFA have become beneficiaries. They will receive 1.9 billion Uganda shillings, and that's according to the announcement from FIFA last Friday. This money is expected in the coming days. Now, the coming days could have been yesterday, today, or tomorrow. So I had a chat with Ahmed Hussein, the FIFA head of communications, and they're guaranteed at least that everything that is planned for FIFA will go on as planned. But of course, now we know money has been sent to federations, and we are thinking, well, 1.9 or about 2 billion is coming to FIFA in the coming few days, or could be in now. How is this money going to be spent? Like we said already, operational costs, salaries, and every other third-party obligations they might have. And now, if you're one of those who thinks you need to go and benefit from this money that has come from FIFA, according to Hussein, no, they're not going to give it out to clubs, to players, no. However, there's some green light. In the communication from FIFA, they said this is just the first step of the relief. They're working on another step where they could, do something for stakeholders. And then FIFA also waiting for some advice from FIFA on how particularly they can actually, direct, if they're to give some to stakeholders, that will come from advice from FIFA. But as of now, it's taking care of the operational costs, and the stakeholders will have to wait for another update from FIFA. But as of now, at least that's one department, that's one organization, or one of the organizations in the country that is assured of everything financial falling into place during this uncertain time.
Okay, Mwangusha, thank you very much. I like the update. Mark, I come to you on a completely different topic. We continue with what Mike has been talking about here in studio, saying he believes the clubs will bounce back. They will learn something from this time, but they will bounce back. You're closer to Express. Of course, Express has money bags. Of course, they will bounce back. But do you understand the argument that some clubs, specifically out of Kampala, could struggle, and maybe some might not be back on their feet?
Yeah, listen, it's going to be tough for every club to recover from COVID. It's going to be tough for every business, and I'm not talking about Uganda only. Across the world, it's going to be very, very difficult. You're going to find that after COVID, there are businesses that will not reopen. Some SMEs are not going to be able to recover. They are dealing with a lot of financial loss. They are servicing big loans. They are working with very, very tight bottom lines, and it might not be possible. There's going to be a change in consumerism, if you like. There's so many people who are customers to certain businesses that have been changed by these lockdowns, by these isolations, by these quarantines, by these curfews, in such a manner as to reflect on their lifestyles and think that certain things, after all, are not as important as they used to think they were. So if you're a business, you're going to suffer from a drop in demand of whatever product it is that you're putting out there. And football is not going to be left in isolation as far as that is concerned. They are going to feel the heat. Like I said on the last show, there's going to be a bit of tentativeness from the general public as far as gatherings are concerned when we reopen. Those ones will go away slowly. Thankfully, the popularity of sport, and football in particular, but sport in general, is such that will eventually go away with time. But yes, there's going to be a bit of suffering. The thing, though, is that where Uganda might be a little unique, a little different from certain other setups, is that the income streams for sports clubs here, especially football clubs, some of them have not actually been really directly linked to their activity, that is the game, and that is because they don't have as many people walking through the gates and paying as, say, certain other clubs, which actually count that as heavy income. There are clubs here in Uganda up to today that have been surviving out of the pockets of big benefactors who actually find different ways of getting repaid other than for their investment or for their the kind of amount of money they sink into these clubs than to collect from club coffers, because the clubs are actually not bringing in any significant income. Those that have made themselves going concerns, proper businesses, clubs like KCCA, of course, will feel the hit in their books. Some other clubs, in all honesty, in Uganda, it's a puzzle, an enigma as to how they survive, they continue to exist under the circumstances under which they have existed.
Okay.
But again, like I said in the last show, every business is going to have to rethink and try to and reinvent themselves. And football clubs are not going to be left behind. We've got to find ways of taking the game to people's bedrooms, to their sitting rooms, to their living rooms. We've got to find the ways of getting these games onto people's phones and all the other gadgetry that they're using. We're going to have to embrace technology and ensure that we become businesses that are compliant in that sense, because it's not going to be easy to survive post-COVID after the wake-up call that was given the world.
Okay, Mark and Andrew, I'm going to come back to you very, very shortly, because I want you to give me your comments on KCCA's season so far in the Uganda Premier League. There are 4 points off Vipers at the moment with 5 games to go. But I want to first come back to Mike here and also take some phone calls. Then I'll come back to you guys very, very shortly. So please sit tight, get yourselves a cup of tea, unlike us here who are not as comfortable as you in your living rooms at home. And then we shall be coming back to you very, very shortly. Mike, I want to pick some phone calls, but I wanted to first throw this. Do we have some phone calls already? I wanted to first throw this to you out there. We know how powerful KCCA has been in Ugandan football recently, gone well and done well on the continent. But we're here talking 5 games to the end of the season. You're 4 points behind Vipers. Is it a case of Vipers being a good team, or is it a case of you and your side going through very many difficulties this season?
Yeah, both. To usher in young players and changing the squad has also affected us. Of course, the departure of Alan really hurt us so much. But you cannot take away the strength that Vipers put in, you know. You cannot say, but I still insist, even if Vipers still on top, KCCA is still the best team in Uganda, you know. And it is unfortunate that we have been operating at 45%.
Really?
Yes. And even operating at 45%, it looks as if we have been playing well. But no.
What do you mean you're operating at 45%, Mike?
The potential, we're supposed to be operating at 50. So the only time I think we operated at 50 was when we won the double, you know. Since then, we have been operating between, equivocating 45, 48. We have never hit the 50 mark. So I believe there is a lot of potential in my players, you know. So, but because, you know, it's a young team growing, you give it time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you cannot take away the strength of Vipers.
I'm shocked you say that, because for some of the impatient KCCA fans, they are now wondering, why aren't we hitting 50? Is it just because some players are young, or is it the manager?
I am not your average trainer, football trainer. I am very thorough with what I do. The growth of this team you've seen over the years. The consistency of winning trophy every season, and even winning the Sekafa with a young team.
Yes.
Like I said, it is a process that we must appreciate, and we let these players grow. But most of our players have the responsibility of winning, because most of these kids have started their careers by becoming winners, you see. So we don't put a lot of pressure on them. They know they have to do what they have to do and win the trophy, because they are playing for a big team, and all this, the best thing to do in a big team is to win trophies. So we are going through that patch, like I said. But I think why we have been operating at 45% has been the departure of Alan. We need that creative player. Now you've seen we have only mainly relied on Gift Ali.
Yeah.
You see? So, but we needed that some other X factor to deliver us to the promised land.
Before we go to Gift Ali, because I want to answer the question someone asked online. Alan Okello, we don't have that many Alan Okellos in Uganda, do we?
No.
Is that why the bigger problem moving forward is for this national side?
Yeah. It's a responsibility for us coaches to earn us another Alan Okello. There cannot be another Alan Okello, but we must get their players in that caliber. You know, so it's a responsibility of some of us to go out there and look for a player of that nature, and they are there.
Yeah.
And they are young. But the problem with most of us, we rely only on these players who have been around.
Established.
You see? So, but you've seen in Europe, the generation of players in English team, how they won the Under-19 World Cup, you know. So we shall look for other players. They are there.
By the way, Mike, let me just put this out of the way. As a good friend of yours, I feel very, very sad that you're struggling to find that player. It also makes me really sad that I retired so early. I certainly could have been that guy. But someone asked about Gift Ali. I've watched him this season. Most of the analysts say he's probably the best player in the Uganda Premier League. He's not called to the national side.
Yeah, that's up to the coach of the national team. Maybe the way he wants his team to play, Gift Ali does not fit in it.
Yeah.
But that does not take away the fact that he's been the best player in the league. And the position he plays, even when you look at our foreign best players, there's no better player in that position than him. So, but having been left out of the national team, I don't think it's going to affect him. He's a calm man, and he's ready to continue working hard. You know, football is democratic. You will play on, and you inevitably you will have to play for the national team.
Yeah.
But I think currently, I think the coach of the national team does not believe that Gift Ali fits in the way he wants his team to play.
But it's good he's 25 as well. He's got time on his hands.
Oh, yeah, and that is the right age for players to really take off and blossom.
Okay, let's take some phone calls now. If we can have some folks online asking Mike any of those questions shortly, I shall be crossing back to Twitter to know what is happening on Twitter and Facebook as well. Just to repeat, the number for you folks is 0778 722 784. One more time, 0778 722 784. Mike, I did ask you about the current campaign and talk about the developing of players, but are there parts of your team that you think have really let you down, or you feel should have been focused on a little bit more? I mean, you talk to coaches who tell you, we need goal scorers this season. We're defending well, we're not scoring the goals. Some guys are saying, we're defending well, the goalkeeper needs some experience. Are there parts in your side that you feel need to be improved? I think let me take some calls here for you, first of all, before we do. Good evening.
Hello.
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 Yes, good evening, my friend. What's your name?
This is Nathan.
Nathan, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Mukono.
You have a question for Mike?
Yes, I have a question for Mike.
Please.
Muko, like Coach Mike, can he tell us why our football league is slow? And mostly our players are taking like a minute to pass the ball. Our league lacks intensity. So that's the only question I want.
That's a good question, though, to be honest. Should we pick someone else or should we? Fantastic. Thank you very much, my brother.
Okay.
Should we take someone else or should we have Mike answer this first? I think we have someone else online. Good evening. Hello. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. I would like to thank Coach Mike for his work well done.
Okay. Oh, this one is listening to themselves. Folks, please, when you call us, make sure you turn down the volume on your TV set. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. We lack intensity, Mike.
Yeah, methodologies of coaching. The game has become so fast, speed. But like I said, you must prepare it from close quarters when you are starting with these kids. You don't do it overnight. It takes time. the passing, you know, what identity, particularly how do we want to play? For myself, we believe in the Cruyff sort of play. You've seen what Guardiola is doing, and that's what we try to instill in our players. But because most of these things have been foreign to most of the players, it takes them time to appreciate these things. But we shall continue doing that.
Yeah.
And the caller is very right.
Yeah.
The pace at which we play is still low. That's why I said, if we're operating at 45%, but we are the best passing time team, probably, in the league.
Yeah.
So that shows the level.
How tactical is the league, though? You, as someone who faces all these coaches, how different are they? How do they change tactics? Do you feel it's a very tactical league here in Uganda? Because some of the fans wagamba munange abamukufe tukubayo lyaduke. So how tactical is it in your personal view? How good have our coaches been?
Oh, very good. They study the game well. Now that FUFA has also rendered this continuous education for the coaches, you can now see the league is more competitive than for the last, I think, 4 years. Yeah. It has been competitive, thanks to the education of the coaches and studying and trying to be very tactical. Of course, every coach has their way of playing. There are some coaches who mainly want to play defensive game. There are most coaches who want to play on the attacking game, counter-attacking game. But you see, all these are incorporated in the modern way of playing. There's no way you're going to play without counter-attacking, because those are the standards, the national standards, international standards. The game is punctuated with a lot of counter-attacking, a lot of pressing, and a lot of quick thinking.
It's changed. Joel, I think you should read a comment or two before we take some more phone calls.
Yeah, just 2 very interesting comments here, and these are directly for Mike. Madro Osil on Facebook says, thanks a lot, Coach Mike Mutebi, for the analysis about players' fitness during this pandemic season. Now, what future plans do you really have for us, KCCA fans, in brackets? Because I believe one of the major factors why we have been underperforming, this is the failure to replace Kadu, Patrick, and Alan Okello. Personally, I would prepare a new center forward and a number 10 in the team next season. That's his view, and he's asking you yours. Umar Musazi says, great coach, thanks for coming in. I'm asking coach how he felt when Ukwago made a blunder and Musa Ramadan was given a red card. KCCA versus Express. Interesting one, that one.
Of course, I felt bad because such an experienced player to conduct himself in a schoolboy manner was, was astonishing as far as I was concerned. But that is part of the game. About
Kadu?
I don't think we missed Kadu. No. I think the players we really missed, in my opinion, actually, it is Alan Okello and probably also Awani's leadership, you see. But the goals even now, Kadu left with 12 goals season. So was Mutiaba. Mutiaba has, I think, 7 now. So, but the other part of the number 10, we are going to manufacture them. They are there. And believe you me, you are going to see a new young team, and you are going to see that number 10 you are arguing for.
Big plans next season for the KCCA fans. Let's take what? Let's take 3 more phone calls. We have so many guys who are trying to ask Mike a couple of questions before we close this. Thank you very much for joining us. The hashtag is NTV PRESSBOX. Good evening.
Good evening.
Fantastic. What's your name, my brother?
My name is Sam from Chirinya.
You want to talk to Mike, not me?
Yes, please, Mike.
Mike is here.
Mike, thanks for coming to the show. And tremendous respect for you, and thank you for what you've done for the football in Uganda. Now, I'm a Villa fan, but with a lot of respect for KCCA. Now, my question is, you've been the best club on the local scene for the last couple of years. Do you feel like you're having sufficient amount of competition from the local game to take your own game to the next level on the African continent, for instance, or do you still feel the level of competition in the local scene is still low for you to take a game to another level? Thank you.
Okay, I think we should answer that. Should we take another call, or should we just let's take one more call, Mike, so we can answer 2 at once. Good evening and welcome to the press box. Hello? Yeah, please get away from the TV so we can get you loud and clear. Okay, I think we're having a problem there. We shall try and get that call on again. Good evening and welcome to the press box.
Hello?
Yes, hello. What's your name, my friend?
Yes, this is David Awiro from Gayaza.
Okay, you want to ask Mike something?
Yeah. Thanks, Mike, for what you've done. We like the way you're playing, and the school of thought of Jody Krause, this is Cruyff and whatever, and the Ajax mentorship. But now, my challenge still comes. I might have not wanted to talk about the coaches, because I have respect for them. But I still believe that one of the major things for us to bring in is the coaching level. Because now if Mike says that he is playing at 40%, but still the best passing team in the league, now it means other teams are even playing at 20%. So the major thing what I want to bring in that let the coaches all be trained to the level of like CAF A and whatever. Because the CAF D or CAF C, someone cannot bring the competition we want in the league. Otherwise, thank you for this.
Okay, asante sana. Someone was talking about the quality of competition in the league, a league in which you've been so dominant. But I feel I know how you're going to answer that.
Yeah, it has been average, like I said.
Oh, that has surprised me.
Yes, I will still insist. I said we won the double and we're playing at 50%. Since then, we've been operating 45%, okay? But still insisting we're the best team, you see? So the level of competition is average, but the caller talked about coaches.
Yes.
Yeah, the coaches are educated, but they know how they want to play, you know? Now, it is up to everyone, each coach, to coach their team the way they want to play and try to compete. You see, we shall play different way. I'll try to play different way. Police will try to play different way. Pride will try to play different way. But for us, it is up to us as a club to up our game.
Yeah.
Because we are thinking big. You must go to the continent. And when you go to the continent, you compete with the big boys, you know? So, but we shall still work on that, like I said. Work in process, but we shall get there.
Okay, let's, I think, join in with Andrew Mwangusha and Maxali again, folks who are joining us to give us their side of the story, because I want to ask for their views on KCCA's season before we can ask Mike the final few questions. So Mwangusha and Sally, are you with us online to know what your side of the story is? There you go. Let me start off with Maxali this time around. Mark, he talks about players that have left the club, including Alan Okello, to have affected how KCCA have played this season. But what is your analysis in terms of this team and the team last season, considering the few points off Vipers with 5 games to go?
Well, it's not been the best season for KCCA as far as results are concerned. Mike can correct me there, but I think this is the most number of points they've dropped over a league season for a few seasons now, because there's been a bit of inconsistency. And, well, first of all, there's been a lot of chopping and changing. If you see, outside of Giftali, who is talked about a bit, and Mustafa Kiza, perhaps there's not been that much consistency from the team. When you look at Giftali, the guys in midfield around him, on their day, very brilliant people, Kezwan Chizito, Musami Mutiaba, that kind, and Kasozi and all. But I don't think any of them has put together a very consistent run this season, the kind of run that would then make the collective as beautiful as KCCA can be, or as impactful in as far as results are concerned, and which actually makes Alan Okello's departure that much of a gaping hole. I've liked, like I said, the consistency of Mustafa Kiza when he was there, Giftali. I like the emergence of Kato at the back. And also, I think of the signings that KCCA made. There's been quite an impact made by John Revita playing with Kato and the other young guys at the back, Musa Ramadan and all. I've thought that KCCA, well, there's two sides to the coin, of course, when you have goals coming in from different sources. But I thought that, again, because of the departure of Kadu, and KCCA not having the caliber of centre forward that they've got us used to since they first brought in Serum Kuma, veteran, and then followed that up with people like Derek Nsibambi and Kadu, like we said, from last season. They've not had that. There are goals flowing in from Mike Mutebi, who was on fire at some point in the season. But there's not been that much consistency around him. There is such Sambo, hot and cold. Simon Serum Kuma, Serum Kuma, I don't know where he disappeared to. We've seen in the second half of the season emergence of other players to come in and fill a void left by others. These kids, Senjove, I saw the other kid, Aliro, the other day. I was quite impressed by how I saw him play against Express in that game that I watched. So I don't know, and again, Mike can tell me here, has he used this many different players in a season before? He's known for tinkering, and he's quite brave. He'll throw kids in at the deep end and everything. But I think that this season, a lot of changes have been forced on him, and they've worked against KCCA as far as consistency is concerned. Under those circumstances,
Mark, just a second.
I've still been impressed by what they've managed to do. I just thought that it could have been better and a little more consistent, yes.
Okay. Let me just cross over to Mwangusha quickly. Mike says they're at 40%, which means statistically Vipers could be on 41% if the current standings in the league are anything to go by. But how good have Vipers been compared to KCCA this season?
I have to say both Vipers and KCCA have been very good at showcasing the lack of running away with the league. Where one has appeared, the other one disappeared in the next match. Where one has decided to draw, the other one followed suit. Where one has won 1-0, the other one won 1-0. Thus, the 4-point deficit with 5 matches to go. It's been a season of inconsistencies from both teams. And it's not surprising. And when Mike tells you 45% clearly, Vipers are not any far better. And it's a league that can be won by either of the two with 5 matches to go. One thing they will agree on, both Vipers and KCCA, is they've been inconsistent. I mean, 5 matches to go, 54 points, the leader. So it's just been a mediocre and average season, like Mike admitted, and all they have to look for is to a stronger ending to the season and perhaps planning well ahead of the future. And maybe, Andrew, before you get away from me, I have a question for Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, Coach Mike, I was at your unveiling at City Hall in the 2015-16 season. Then, of course, with Sam Simba, who has since moved on. You came with this vigor, this hunger, you know, of winning, and you really demonstrated it on the pitch. 2017 was phenomenal. 2018 as well, though on the continent, you kind of backslid. So looking at it, observers who have been watching you this season, you've had quite some shortfalls, you know, attacked by thugs. You've had some snapping moments as well in the league. Would you look down, you know, at the bottom of your heart and say that you still carry the same hunger that you came with at KCCA? And do you really look forward to tomorrow and the next season and the next season, and you tell yourself that, well, I'm still in this and I still have unfinished business here?
Okay, I appreciate that. But before Mike answers that, let me also ask Mark, because we're not coming back to you guys. After this, we are completely taking you offline and we're moving on with people who are here in studio. Mark, do you have any final comments you'd want to either ask or send to Mike Mutebi here?
Well, yeah, I'd have been interested as well in finding out just how he's coped with the pressure that has come in from the fans, the criticism that has been thrown at him, and the abuse, both verbal and physical, and if in any way it has shaken his belief in this project, and the fact that and he's continuing to be a part of it. Has he reflected on this and thought, you know what, safety first, or self-preservation and things like that, and that if you do this again, I'm walking? I mean, can he say anything like that? Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate your time, and please stay safe. We shall get back to you on the next episode of the Press Box if none of you guys shows up here in studio. But we really appreciate. Mike, 2 quick questions there from our 2 fantastic panelists at home. And then Joel will have a few questions. I'll take 2 more calls, and then we shall wrap the show. I think we start with Mwangusha, the Viga.
Yeah, Viga, Andrew is right on. It has been mediocre. When I insist on 45%, I evaluate the performance we've had through those 5 years I've been in charge, and also in relation with our competitors, you see. But the hunger is still there. Mark talked about this pressure. Yeah, that is part of the theater of coaching. As long as I know I'm in charge, I'm doing the right thing, I can consume all that nonsense from whatever, because it is part of the game, you see. But the hunger that I came with, still there. Like I've said, our motto is to do and dare, and we shall continue daring. We shall try to try to win championships and try to do better on the continent. Because what has made us a little bit above the rest is our involvement on the continent. The number of matches we played on the continent has improved our players. The mentality, this winning mentality, you know, like you see, Champions League. Teams thrive now, winning, getting 4th position is like winning a trophy.
Yes, absolutely.
So for us, we have only 2 ways. You either win the league or the Uganda Cup and go to the what? To the continent. So the hunger is still there. We are still a young, I think we are the youngest team across in Eastern Central. But like I said, with these young kids with a lot of ambition that they want to be winners, I think the sky is going to be the limit for us, and we shall still continue fighting to be the best.
Okay, Joel, some comments?
Yeah, and I think you touched on this a bit. Hope asked, what are your goals and what will you term as success in this coming season? Cyrus says, I like the fact that Ugandan football has a manager of Mike's stature, professionalism and good grasp about the current trends on football. Aluta, continue on Mike. Hampaka in Dubai, of course, says, I pray and hope we shall get back on our feet, but can you ask Coach what he thinks on the 12th league proposal? Ahebwa Alan says, before they financially survive, they must first psychologically survive. This is an aspect which isn't taken seriously in general in the African setting, but bottom line, financial survival is nothing without psychological survival. George Williams says, what are the possible signings for the club as far as fulfilling the gaps of gone players like the great Alan Okello? Chinene Peter Muganwa says, many clubs are going to struggle to impress. They will have payroll issues since they can't lay off ballers. I hope FUFA made adjustments for its budget since it will have to bail out these clubs. Maybe one more, and I think this one is related not to local football, but I'll still ask Coach Mike because the person wants to know, I guess. Nelly asks, ask Coach Mike what his take on European football is. What does he think needs to be done, for example, in England? Should they give the title to Liverpool, or should they look to finish the league?
Okay, there's so many questions for you, Mike.
But don't know which one you can remember.
Yeah, let me just add in this comment from a very big AC Villa fan, a very popular cartoonist as well. At Kwasize Chris Ongon, he says, best player in the league this season is Derek Ndahiro, Mike Aturekemu. So basically, I think from his perspective, he has a different view.
Yeah, Ndahiro has performed well.
Yeah, Mike.
But, you know, for me, to decide who the best player is, we do statistics. We don't just say, you don't just get emotional because somebody has kicked the ball and has scored. No, you look at statistics. There is no question Gift Ari has been the best player in the league. Okay, and the hero has performed well. I even believe Ahebwa has been their best player in the league. Scores goals and plays well. About the Liverpool thing, sportingly, I would pray that the league is completed.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether they have that law of 50%, like we have 75%. If the law goes that way,
whoever takes it, takes it.
Yes, Liverpool, of course. But
it
would be no.
Engage about somebody almost Barcelona. They're close.
No. I'm Spurs.
Okay.
Spurs, whatever. Because they are the team that first played carpet football in England.
Yes.
The Gary Linekers of this world, you know, that generation, Chris Wado, Hodo, you know. So, but sportingly, I would pray that they finish the league. And of course, even if they finish the league, Liverpool will be champion.
Yeah.
Because I don't see anybody catching up with those.
Either way, they will be champions. Let me take 2 final calls for you, Mike. Just 2 final questions before we wrap this one up. We are coming to the end of the press box very shortly, but you can continue sending us those reactions. The hashtag is NTV PRESSBOX. Good evening.
Hello.
Yes, hello, my friend. Welcome to the press box.
Yeah, am I talking to Andrew?
Yes, this is Andrew. Do you have a question for Mike?
Yeah, I have a very big question for Mike.
Okay.
I'm Brian Masiko. I'm a very big fan of KCCA. Yeah, I have a question for Mike. I'm a diehard of KCCA.
Okay, tell me, what's the question?
Yeah, my question is, we usually sell out big stars, big names for big money. We sold out Shaban, we sold out Okello, we sold out Ade, and many more stars. Mike Virunji, they go out there in these African clubs, top African clubs, where they don't get space to perform. When they come back, we shut our doors to them. I don't know whether Mike has it in plan that maybe a star like Okello, if he doesn't get play time that side, can we have him in our squad again and carry on the game? Because these are stars. A man like Shaban used to give us a lot of joy on pitch. So coming back and he has nowhere to play, there's nowhere I can. The doors are shut. But Mike, you're a great coach. We really thank you so much. And you're doing great. But can we have our stars be back? Because we sell them big money, but we need them back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Let me just take the final caller as well, then we wrap this one up. I don't know if football works like that, but you'll give an answer to that one very shortly. And we have one final caller online, one very lucky human being. Good evening and welcome to the press box. Hello.
Yes. Hello, Andrew. Good evening to you.
Fantastic. What's your name again?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you, my friend.
Yes, Andrew, good evening. My name is Bob. I just have a quick question for Mike.
Please.
Yes. Now, Mike, I just wanted to ask you, do you have any disappointments when you started training at KCCA, when you started coaching at KCCA? Do you look back and regret when you look at some players whom you tried to develop and didn't come out well? For example, Nunda. Do you feel okay with his performance, or you feel like he has actually disappointed you? Thank you.
Okay, asante sana. That is our final caller for the evening. We really appreciate. I think let's start with the Nunda one, then we can move on.
Yeah,
players that have disappointed you.
Disappointing. I've been always been known to give second chance to players who promise so much, but somehow, somewhere, they got problems. The likes of Saddam Juma, the likes of Nunda, Jackson, the likes of Putiaba Mike, you know, Seru Nkuma, you know. But not all of them have worked, and it's been a disappointment. Okay? About selling players, yeah, the club, to sustain its growth, we must sell players. Now, if those players go out there and they sell well, and they are sold anywhere else, there you go. If we have the money maybe to reclaim them from where they are, we can do that, but I don't think we have the money to do that. Now, these other players who have come back, like Berunji, yes, he came back, but like I said, he's one of those ones. We gave a chance, and then he did not use it. I cannot go on giving chances. Otherwise, I'm not going to play Poloto, because I'll be waiting. When will this man blossom? He doesn't. Meanwhile, this young one who is promising, seated on the bench and not given a chance.
Yeah.
So, Chambade, yeah, Chambade had to move on. No problem with him. But like I said, Chambade's move did not affect us. It is only Alan Okero and possibly the leadership of Awani that affected us. But we would love to promise our fans that we are going to usher in those unknowns, because we are going to bring in unknowns. And like we did with Okero. Nobody believed in Okero.
Yeah.
But at 15, I gave Okero a chance. And my word, how we performed since then. You know, so we shall have others. We are looking around a generation of the Okeros. They are there.
Yes.
In clubs that are not being appreciated. And those are the players we are going to look at and bring in at KCC and try to believe and improve the squad.
Okay, Mike, fine, we are done. The show is done. But what I would really want, one of the reasons we're happy to have you on the show is because you'd explain issues the way you did. So one of the things I request you to do at the end is look into that camera and, you know, give some advice to footballers who are home at the moment. Some of them are worried because they don't earn that much money from these clubs. Others, we don't know how fit they will be when they're coming back to their clubs. There's a situation of hopelessness for some of the footballers at the moment. Experienced man, you have all the hope. This is your camera. I mean, what would you tell those players who are confused mentally at the moment because of this pandemic?
They should continue to be focused. That is part of the game. They must be strong. Like I say, mentality. I hope they don't get into depression, you know, because they must keep working and keep positive and not become despondent. Because now this is a lesson they have to face. You see, not only the players, even us the coaches, you know, thinking, you know, like now it is as if we are in a sabbatical.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that you cannot just lay your just right there and leave it. No, you must continue looking at what is going on, because immediately this thing is over, you must be at your A game and try to do the right things. So the thing is to keep focused and have the right mentality and stay the course. We shall get out of this pandemic.
Michael Mutebi, asante sana. Thank you very, very much for coming and joining us on the show today. We hope for a good conclusion to this. We hope we come back, finish the league. We hope the players will be fit. And I'm also really, really happy, Mike, because you've talked about how KCCA is scouting players at the youngest of ages. I have a 2-week-old, and I'm going to make sure they stay on that process to make sure they can come and play for KCCA very soon. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Really appreciate it. Thank you very much as well, you at home, who has been joining us throughout here on NTV PRESSBOX. The discussion does continue online. The hashtag is NTV PRESSBOX. Our official handle on Twitter is at NTV PRESSBOX. Send us your thoughts. We shall be back on Monday with some of the biggest stories around the globe. I want to thank Andrew Mwangusha and, of course, Max Ali, who have joined us from home. Mr. Robert Madoy is still struggling with technology problems. Asha Komugisha will be joining us as well, and, of course, Joel Kamadi, plus the entire production team behind the scenes. Please stay safe. Please wash your hands. Please have that mask. Stay home as well. Good night.